Yo, 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 and welcome back to the Sticks and Stones podcast. Sticks and Stones is the podcast where we bring serious cigar smokers together with serious deal makers. And welcome to episode 14, by the way. This is the value add episode. And we're not just talking about being a cheap ass. There's a lot of different terms in which value add could apply. And it is Sticks and Stones, where we care very much about tobacco products, cigars. So we are smoking the CAO Surplus Maduro this evening. And this cigar is roughly $2. I don't, depending on where you live and where you shop, this is roughly $2. What I'm drinking this evening is I made myself a little concoction of a bunch of espresso. I think like 5 different espresso pods, some sugar-free Harry Potter white chocolate toad peppermint, some shit like that, and a little bit of Kahlua. Oh yeah. Now we are approaching the holiday season, so got a little plate of butter cookies. I went to the gym today. I killed it. So we're gonna have a cheat day. So we're gonna toast the foot. See if we can get it to hold some heat without puffing on it. I have the tried and true straight cut. All right, and we're off. We are off. Value add because it's like it's the favorite word. It's the catchphrase. It's the catchword. It's the buzzword. Adding value. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? Adding value. Nobody wants to buy something and pay more for it. Nobody wants to purchase a service or a product and lose money. Nobody wants to do that. Hence the term value add. Everyone today is looking to buy something and find a value in there or create a value in there, which adds that value add, the money on top of what you just paid for. Like, let's just say I buy this Maduro CAO Surplus and I go buy it at my cigar shop for $2. $2 even. I am going to, let's just say, buy a nifty torch and a punch or a cutter and maybe some kind of a thing that you would some kind of a pamphlet or a coupon book or something, and I'm going to package this all up, and I've maybe got $3 invested, and I go try and sell that for 10 or 15 bucks. That's just making a profit. It's not really a value add, but just to give you an idea, like in cigars, I'm making money on top of that, but I'm taking something that I paid $2 for. I'm adding some other stuff in there to give someone a value, a perceived value. Like, yeah, I like that. I like that cigar, but I've also paired it with a couple espresso pods or Nespresso pods or K cups from the Keurig machine, whatever. I've put a bunch of things in there that has given someone a perceived value of, this is 10 or $15. Even though I have $3 invested, someone, looking at this, they have a perceived value because it's a drink, it's a cigar, have a nice time, relax. It's a cutter, it's a torch, it's everything that I need to have a really nice evening. So I'm going to pay $10 or $15 for that. That's like a value add. Don't judge me. I'm gonna dunk. I'm gonna dunk up all of them in this bitch. So what do you perceive is a value add? Is it adding additional services onto a service that you already love? Is it adding a product onto a service that you already love? What is perceived value and creating an additional value to the already perceived value? How are you creating more value from what you're already invested in, what you're already agreeing to buy, right? What is that for you? And that could be a lot of different things, depending on, what market you're in, depending on what you're buying. I'm just going to break it down from a commercial real estate standpoint. Value add properties. What does that mean? There's a lot of different value adds in commercial real estate, right? So one of the value adds is I'm going to go buy a distressed property, or I'm going to go buy a property that has a lot of deferred maintenance on it. And why is that a value add? It's a value add because I can buy that at a lower number. Let's just say, for all intents and purposes, I find a property that if it were in tip-top shape, it would be trading at $5 million. But it's got 15 years of deferred maintenance. It needs a roof. It needs 4 HVAC units. It's got plumbing issues. It's got some foundation issues. Jesus, this is sounding like a real shithole building. But let's just say it's got a lot of deferred maintenance. I'm not buying it for $5 million. I'm buying it for $2.5 million. And now I'm going to put $300,000 to $400,000. I'm just pulling that number out of my ass. I put $300,000 to $400,000 into this building, and now it's worth $5 million. That is a value add property. Let's just say, here's another application. Sometimes you have multiple value adds. As I'm smoking my $2 cigar, you don't always have to smoke a $300 Cuban, guys. $2 stick will do just fine. So here's another application for value add in the commercial real estate world. Let's just say I am buying a property, and let's just say it's a multifamily property. Let's just say I'm buying a 21 unit apartment building on 2 acres. My value add there, let's just say the building is in tip-top shape. It was built last year. So it's tip-top shape. There's no deferred maintenance. Everything is brand new. but I have a lot of land on this apartment building is sitting on a lot of land, 2 acres. It's a lot. I can go and apply for building permits, and I can put another 2 apartment buildings, maybe 30, 40 units apiece. I have so much land that I can build the buildings and the infrastructure, the parking lots or the small parking deck, whatever. That is a huge value add, because now I'm buying a property that had 21 apartments in it. It's generating so much income, but now I am putting double the amount. I'm putting 42 units additional onto this property. Now, instead of making 150,000 net operating income each year, I'm making close to 400,000 net operating income. Value add. Now, sometimes you have both. Sometimes there's properties that have deferred maintenance, and there's land that you could build something else. Multiple applications of value add. There's also applications sometimes where you already own a building, and or you may own a couple of buildings, and then something comes up for sale, or it's a neighboring building and you're friendly with the person and they say, hey, I'm thinking about selling this thing. The value add for you there is you already own the other 2 buildings on either side of that property. Now, if you let someone else buy that property, you don't know what that owner is going to do. You don't know how they're going to treat the property. You don't know if it's going to, devalue the real estate market depending on what they do. For all you know, they can knock down that apartment building and put up a gas station. Highly unlikely, but I'm just saying. They can put up another building that you don't know what the hell they're doing, and you have no control over it because you don't own that property. So that is a version of value add. So there's a lot of different ways you can interpret value add. There's a lot of different ways you can interpret value add. So why is it so important for people? And this is mainly investors. An investor doesn't just want to buy a commercial property and coast off of the income it generates. 9 out of 10 investors are always looking for a value add. Nobody wants just to coast on what the property is currently generating. Everybody is going to look at that property and say, how can I increase the value of that property? Creating a value add. And I already have plans of shooting an episode with the subject being value versus cost. That's a completely different thing, which I think is very relevant, because a lot of people are not really sure about that concept as well. But the value add, like I said, the majority of investors are looking for that value add. Whether that's, I know people that specifically invest in coin laundries. They buy coin laundries because it's their niche. It's their niche, however you say it, tomato, tomato. It's their niche it's what they see value in, right? I'm going to buy 15 coin laundries because I know them. I know they operate. It works well for me, and it's a cash cow. Cool. But let's just say you buy a coin laundry and with very little investment, you can now create a dry cleaners. It's in the same field, it's in the same world, right? It's in the same vicinity, but now you're adding another service. So it's the same property, it's the same building, the same employees, but now you're adding an additional service. So you're capturing not just the coin laundry, not just the people that need to wash their everyday clothes, but now you're also grabbing some business from the people that need their fancy clothes dry cleaned. And potentially you're grabbing the business from your existing customers that, oh, I didn't know that you had dry cleaners now. I'll give you my dry cleaning business. So there's a value add there. Or let's just say that you're a coin laundry operator and you just bought a new property and there's a lot of space on there. You can put another retail building up, a couple of stores, and now you're generating income off of those stores. Value add. Why is that important to people? Well, my opinion is because people want their money to work for them, not the other way around. You don't want to be working for your money. You want your money to work for you. Like I said, it's the holiday season. We're in the holiday season now. These butter cookies remind me of my childhood. And if you don't remember these butter cookies that came in a blue tin, I feel very sorry for you. You've had a very troubled past. Why is value add so important? Like I said, I don't think anybody buys a property and says, I want to lose money. Nobody says, I want to buy this thing or this service and it sucks. Like nobody wants that. No one says, oh, I pay $3,000 a year for this service and it's the shittiest thing I've ever had. Nobody wants that. But I think in today's climate, with downsizing and people working from home, companies found out that there was a huge way to save money. I think everybody is cost conscious. I think everybody is value conscious today. And I don't think that people want to piss money away. Not that anyone enjoys pissing money away, but sometimes you get lifestyle creep and you start spending more money than you anticipated. There's a lot of reasons why things could happen, but I don't think anybody wants to piss money away. And now with the global financial climate of everybody is very conscious about their dollars, inflation being at an all-time high or an all-time high in decades. Everybody wants to get the most bang out of their buck, which I'm in total agreement with. I mean, obviously, that's why I'm smoking a $2 cigar, which is it's phenomenal. I mean, this is the value add right here. You're smoking a cigar that if you closed your eyes all day long, you would say this is a $7, $8, $9, $10 cigar. It's $2. That's value right there. It's got great draw, great flavor. There's nothing missing out of your life from smoking the CAO Surplus. CAO makes a lot of great cigars, but you could be smoking the LFD Andalusian Bull at whatever that thing is, $22. I just smoked one not too long ago. I did a podcast with it. I'm not missing anything with this. Value. That's the key. Value. Do you see value in it? Are you getting a value out of whatever that is? Whether that's a service, whether it's a product, where you spend your time. That's another value. If you're spending your time with something that you see value in, spending your, free time with friends, with family, huge value in that. Are you spending your time wisely? I'm very guilty of that. Sometimes I get wound up in the details. Sometimes I get too hyper focused on the very, very small details. And it's like I look at my watch and I've spent hours typing out an article for LinkedIn or whatever. Was that the wisest time spent? Probably not. You get really, really wound up in graphic design details, hours working on a thumbnail. I mean, is that thumbnail really going to make the difference? The additional 3 hours you put into doing the smallest details of the artwork? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't think so, but time is the only commodity that we have that we can't make more of. It has priceless value. So how are you spending your time? Are you spending that wisely? Are you getting the optimal output for the time you're investing in things? Make time for a date night once a week. Spend as much time with your children that you possibly can. Many years ago, there was a friend of mine that I had not spoken to in a while, and I found out that he passed away. And then you're sitting there and you're telling yourself all the things that you would have told that person, but tomorrow is promised to nobody. So from that point on, I decided that I was going to reach out to as many of my friends as I could on a daily basis. So who I think of that day when I wake up, I'll make a list of my friends and I'll text 5, 6 of them each day. And that way I never have to feel that regret again. That I never touched base with that person and he's no longer here. Because tomorrow is not promised to anyone. A piano can fall on you as you're walking down the street, and you don't know when the next time you're going to see that person, hear from that person again. So, that is definitely one thing that I learned, a lesson from that ordeal. And I have to wake myself up every once in a while and be like, hey, get back into the groove of it. Reach out to your friends, because you never know. Family members, cousins. I don't know how large your immediate family is, but reach out to your immediate family. Talk to your mom, talk to your dad, your siblings. You never know. I just recently had a death in my family. As you're helping family members get through things and mourn and make arrangements and stuff, it really shocks you. It's like it's a shock to the system. Is that even a value to you? Everybody's values are different. You know, family values, you know, whatever your values are. You know, I know people that they value money more than anything. You know, so they constantly looking at their bank accounts, making sure that, you know, they're receiving every penny that they possibly can, and making sure that their businesses are running optimally, and making sure that their expenses are as low as they possibly could be and profits are as high as they could possibly be. And they get obsessed with money. I mean, there's no wrong or right answer here. I'm just curious to what the people out there that listen and watch this podcast, what do you find value in? And what would you like to have more of? I would say I would definitely love to have more time with people that I've lost, people that I can't get back. You know, that's a huge one. I don't know if many people can reverberate this, but I would love to get back the things I spent on dumb shit. You know, and my director of operations, he's always on me about this. I could spend some money. I mean, if spending money was an Olympic event, I'd have a platinum medal. And I've not always spent wisely. You know, I have spent good money, lots of money on dumb shit. And I'm being straight up, real talk. So maybe I'd love to get some of my money back on some of the dumb shit that I've spent. You know, value is a very funny thing because that it's in the eye of the beholder, right? So what I see value in, you may not see value in. What I think is precious and what I think is very valuable, you may not. You might say that's worth a hill of beans to me. I don't care about that. So it's all relative. You know what's so weird is value also changes. Pre-pandemic, I used to go, I'm going to use an old people word here too. I used to go to the cinema all the time. I used to go to the movies all the time. And if any of you have ever been to the movies with more than just yourself, if you have gone to the movies with your family or friends, you know that going to the movies is going to cost you at least $100, depending on how many people you've got with you. I have a pretty big family, so it's a bare minimum $150. By the time you pay for all the tickets and by the time you pay for, you know, $64 bucket of popcorn and a $38 soda, fountain soda, you're in for a ton of money. And pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, I was at the movie theaters every week. I was always going to the movies. And maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit there. Maybe not every week, but definitely once or twice a month. Definitely. And pre-COVID, there was a lot of movies coming out in the cinemas. Now, we're out of COVID a long time. It's 2025. It's been 5 years since COVID hit, and the movies have been open for quite some time now. Years, probably 3 years or more. I think I've been to the movies maybe 3 times, 2 or 3 times in a year, and most of them were probably for kids' birthdays, my children's birthdays. So your perception of value will change, because I couldn't live without going to the movies, without going to the cinema, because it was the whole experience for me. It was like, the dark theater, the huge screen, the surround sound, the flavor of movie pop. And you look, I don't care what anyone says, it's almost impossible to replicate movie theater popcorn. And I'm a popcorn fanatic. So going to the theater, picking out some popcorn, some snacks, and watching hopefully a really good movie. And I'm a movie fanatic. That was paradise for me. I think I've been, like I said, 2 or 3 times in the last year. So with the emergence of streaming services like Hulu and Netflix and Amazon Prime and Prime Video and all these different things, and Paramount Plus, and everybody's got a plus, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus. And if you are like my family, you have multiples of those things. You have 3 or 4 streaming services. You find it less and less important to get your family in the car, drive to the theater, break up 20 fights on the way to the theater with your kids, killing each other, paying those exorbitant fees for tickets and snacks and all that stuff to watch a movie when you've got it right in your house. So value does change. I mean, you don't see the same thing, and a lot of I have a multiple friends that are wealth managers, and value changes as you're young to aging and then back down again. I don't know what the hell that was, but what I mean by that is when you're a young professional and you're making money when you're younger, the people who manage your money, if you have somebody who does investments for you, buys stocks for you, or does any of that type stuff for you, they're going to tell you be aggressive when you're younger. Invest in more stocks than anything else, and then have a backup of annuities and maybe some bonds and whatever. And then as you get older, they tell you, okay, back it down. You don't need to be as aggressive anymore. You've saved a lot of money. You've done some good investments. Your value structure, your value strategy should have changed. I don't need to be as aggressive anymore. I don't need to be as risky anymore, because I'm up in age now and I can't make this all again. I can't lose it all and then go try to make it again. I want to coast out the rest of my years and be comfortable. You're very aggressive. You're very, you're making money, and you're putting your investments in, and you're, doing a lot of stocks, and you're very, very risky, because it's like, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s. Fuck it. Like I can make it again. If I lose this all, if I lose my entire stock portfolio or my entire investment portfolio, I can make it again. When you get in your 50s and 60s, you're like, maybe not. Maybe I don't want to make it again. Maybe if I lose all this shit, I'm just going to go put all my shit in a sheet, tie it to a stick, throw it over my shoulder, and go on down to Costa Rica and live on the beach, whatever. It's all relative. And your perceptions of value are going to change as you get older. So I think your values today, I think you should always monitor them. I think you should always keep some sort of track, keep your goals, keep your value propositions, your perceptions of value. I think you should record that somewhere, like in some sort of a journal or some sort of a vision board, or, some way that you can, just for the shits and giggles of it, if for nothing else, as something you can show your kids later on in life, or your grandkids, like, hey, this is what I thought was really important back then, and this is what I invested in, this is what I saw value in, this is what I saved up for, and then, come years later, that completely changed. Value also is relative in, someone who makes X amount of dollars would see, like, oh, 10% of my income, which is $10,000 a year, goes on entertainment or, bullshit, whatever, versus someone who makes, Y amount of dollars and their entertainment or frills or bullshit is like $100,000. That's their two perceptions of value are going to be very, very different. Someone that I knew someone, and I was actually telling a friend this story, that they vacation internationally every Christmas. We're coming into the holiday season, so it brought the story up. And I was sitting in the office, and this person, very successful business person, went to the staff accountant and said this was like a few weeks away. They were going to take their family vacation, big family, international vacation. Hey, as you know, we're going on vacation, and can you wire $75,000 into my bank account in that country so we can have some spending money, because it's like a 3-week Christmas vacation. $75,000 spending money, like pocket money, 75 grand. It's all relative. To someone who is a high net worth person, $75,000 could be spending cash, versus, someone who maybe is not as high net worth, $750 could be spending cash. $75 could be spending cash. It's all relative. It's like, what does the value add mean to you? And I think if value is what you're looking for, which I think anybody in any walk of life should be looking for a value. Maybe not in everything. I do know people that they look for value in fucking everything. Maybe you're not that person where you're looking for value in everything and you're looking to, squeeze the nickel out of everything. But I think everybody should be looking for value in most things. It's I don't think anybody today, no matter what your net worth is, I don't think anybody's got, money just to piss away or, blow out your ass. It's the dollars are becoming more and more precious as the days go on, especially as our economies are what they are right now. And that's another sidebar. What most people see as an economic scale, like the economy, to other people, it may not make a shit bit of difference. Like, I remember when I was in a different business, and a very, very lucrative business, and it was millions upon millions of dollars were being made. Income was very, very high. And it was at one of the worst economic times ever. but it was a different industry. It was a different service. It was just a lot of things were different. So I'm sure there's a lot of people right now that are feeling a crunch with the current economy and current, job scales. And I know that the U.S. government was in a shutdown for like 40 plus days, and that affected a lot of people. But even with that, I'm sure there are some people in other businesses, other industries that are having the time of their life, having the best income that they've ever had, the most income they've ever had. So I also think that what is going on for one person is not going on for every person. So be that as it may, whatever, that was a total sidebar, but just a random thought that popped in my crazy head. So I think that value is, it's important. It's something that should be important to you. And I think that especially when you're doing any kind of investment, whether it's residential real estate, commercial real estate, stocks, bonds, crypto, whatever, I think that a value add should definitely always be in your focal point, in your purview, your field of view, whatever you want to call it. I think that if you're buying commercial real estate to run your business, to house your business, whatever that business is, I think that's your value. That's your value add. Your value add is having a successful place to house your successful business, operate your successful business out of. That should be your value. If you are buying real estate to reap the benefits of the rental income, that's a completely different value, set of values, completely different. That is something you should be concerned with. Well, what's the net operating expense? What is the net operating income? What are the total operating expenses? What is the gross? These are all things that you should be worried about. I just think it's a beautiful subject. It's a beautiful thing to talk about, the value add, getting value out of your dollars, making sure that your dollars are going longer than shorter. I mean, anybody who is commonsensical should be looking to stretch their dollars as much as they can and get value out of them. There's a lot of ways that people get value out of their dollars that may not be full, but legal, and I think that's going a little too far when you'll decide to bend or break laws to get value out of your dollars. But I think anybody with common sense should be looking to maximize the value, maximize their hard-earned money. I think that cigars are no exception, right? You shouldn't be just looking for the best cigars out there. I only buy cigars that are $10 or higher. That's not always the best value, because sometimes I've had many cigars that were high in price and they were pretty shitty. So, to that extent, one of my own personal rules in cigar smoking is I always buy two cigars. If there's something that I'm trying for the first time, I don't buy one, I buy two, because any cigar, any brand, any maker could have a dud in a box. You could have a shitty stick in a box of 10 or 25 or 20 or whatever. Two duds in one box. Stay away from that cigar. You got the CAO Surplus, $2. You've got the Drew Estates Factory Smoke. That's like $3. There are cigars out there that are very economically priced. Don't just look for every AJ Fernandez or every high dollar Drew Estate or the Atabey. I don't think there's a cheap Atabey cigar. And since they sold out the original, the founders of the cigar company, Atabey, since they sold the company, I have not smoked a good one. They die out quickly. When the original Atabey came out, that thing would stay lit for days. I mean, that fucker was like, I shot a whole round of golf on one Atabey and it never died. And if you've ever shot a round of golf, you know that there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of moving parts to that game, and you're driving from one hole to the next or one shot to the next, and you're not smoking the damn cigar the entire time. So for one cigar to never have to relight on a whole round of 18 holes of golf, that's saying a lot. Atabays today are like $30-$40 a stick, and don't hold me to that, but they're up there. And I pass them by every time I'm in the cigar shop. I pass them by. If I see them there, I don't buy an Atabey. So value is important. Get your value out of whatever it is. If it's cigars, if it's cars, if it's clothes, whatever. Get your value out, but don't. I know people that they only go for the top priced stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, a Tom Ford suit is a phenomenal suit, but you're talking $4,000 or more. It's also going to last a long time, but very few people fit in their clothes over 20-year span of time. You're going to lose weight, you're going to gain weight, whatever. I know people that only buy like the top end Mercedes Benz, and they every 2-3 years they're buying the new version of that vehicle. I mean, if that's you, great. God bless you. More power to you. But check your options. There are options. You can buy valuable things. Like these things literally are burnt up in the air. These are going to be burnt up. That's what we're buying them for. We're buying them so we can light them on fire and we can puff on them. You don't have to buy boxes of $25 a stick cigars. Don't get me wrong. Is that nice? Yeah, it's great. But sometimes it's not what you need. Sometimes you just need a $2 stick to get you by. This is a great daily driver. Don't get me wrong. I have a $7 a cigar daily driver, but I'm going to feel a lot less shitty if I toss this out because I've, got to jump into a meeting or I got to leave or something. I'm going to feel a lot less shitty about doing that with this cigar than I am that $7 cigar. Values are different for everyone. As long as you're good with the value you're getting, great. If you think you can get more value out of something, maybe you should look for a professional to help you. Maybe you should Google some of the information that you're looking for. Maybe you should reach out to an investment professional, a commercial real estate broker, a residential realtor or residential real estate professional. But as long as you're getting your value out of things, it's all that matters. That's all I've got for this episode, for this podcast. I pray that you all stay blessed, and above all else, keep it rolling, baby.